What's up there, guys? Welcome back to Digger Detecting. I'm sitting here doing a little bit of research. It's 8 o'clock at night, and we all do this. We've all done it. We buy these books, you know, $10 each and $20 each and $50 and $100. They all cost money, and we sit here and we research where we're going to go tomorrow and look at potential new prospecting sites, looking for gold or coins or relics. Well, as I said, we all do it. We've all done it. Gone are those days, and pushing those books off to the side for tonight. I'm not even going to use them because tonight what I'm doing is researching on Detector Maps Online. And now this is not a brand new website, I will say, but there's a feature on here that has just opened up that is brand new, and I'm super excited to show you guys because there's information on this website here on Detector Maps Online that you will never get through these books. You just can't. And that is the LiDAR ranging. Now, it's just amazing, phenomenal information. And I've been showing, a few people and showing how it works and looking at it myself. And I'm not all that computer illiterate. I'm not all that technology savvy. So you got to bear with me. But it's a good show also for people out there watching that you don't have to be all that tech savvy to operate something like this. And it's going to open up and revolutionize everything we do within the Goldfields for future. I'm 100% certain about that from what I've seen so far, and putting boots on the ground and really seeing what I'm seeing online and going out and seeing it in the bush. It is absolute pinpoint perfect. Look, amazing. LiDAR ranging is going to absolutely revolutionize everything. So I'm going to put you on the tripod. I'm going to set you up, get you steady and stable, and we're going to show you a look exactly what this can do for you for future. If you're a prospector, gold prospector, look, even coin and relics. I'm going to show you a bit on the coin and relics that I've discovered. Here you can sort of look at old building imprints and tracks and trails through the bush. So that will even be handy for the coin relic treasure hunting side as well. So don't just think this is for gold prospecting. This is for metal detecting in general. So let's make a start. Alright, well, I think I've got you zoomed in there quite nice, and you can see a little wavy hand in the middle of the screen. Hello! And we're going to basically make a start and show you exactly, as I said, what this LiDAR mapping can do for you for future if you're a prospector. And look, as I said, you don't have to be all that tech savvy to drive this thing. It's quite simple, and it's not only available on a computer or laptop here, it's also available as a mobile application for Android and iPhone. So don't think that you have to have a computer to access it. You can access it whilst you're on the go, or sitting at home in the lounge room of a night time with your mobile phone, and it's absolutely amazing. The mobile phone application is slightly different, of course, to the computer here. I mean, it shows all the same information, but the setup is obviously just that little bit different layout. So easy to use, and look, fantastic information. So let's make a start. So first up the top here, you can see a little hand there. I'm not going to point at it because I've got a pointer on the screen. We've got the historic gold nuggets. Now, if I click that out, we can see a lot of information disappears on the screen. We'll click it back in, and we can see those little scrolls scroll up straight away. Now, if I click on the scroll, what it's going to show me is some information in that area. Now, it's telling me that a 31.5 ounce gold nugget was found at Fraser's Hill on Wednesday, 3rd of February 1932. And it gives you a little bit of information there. It's great how it sort of tells you what was going on. And the link is basically available, so you can view the source of the link, and it'll take you to like a Trove website, what have you, and basically give you that article or that digitalized newspaper article of that event in history. 1932, 3rd of February, 31 ounce nugget coming out at Fraser's Hill. Incredible. Let's click up here. This is a touch screen too, so I don't have a mouse, I've only got the keypad in front of me. So I'm going to use my finger from time to time. And this is incredible, this one. So it's saying here up the top here, once again, one of the scrolls giving that historic gold nugget information. It tells us that a nugget of 190 ounces was discovered. Wow. With very little more labour, he succeeded in uncovering the welcome obstruction, which proved to be a handsome nugget of solid gold, 8 or 9 inches in length. Once again, we can view the source down the bottom here. I should use the pointer, not my hand. So we can view the source down here, and that was in 1865 on the 23rd of February. That'd be the welcome nugget, I'd imagine, by the sounds of it. So, look, it's fascinating information. I'll just go over to the side here on the right-hand side and run up here quickly. We've got the search bar, so we can search for a specific area. we've got the waypoint below, if the cursor will move. We've got the add a waypoint below, so we can quickly drop a waypoint down right here, just dropping it down, and we enter its name. So we could go gold location. Here I am saying I'm not that good on a computer. We did that pretty quick. So we can drop that down and basically move down the screen here and just select add waypoint. And there's one thing I will say too, it's got a great amount of little icons, so we can put a flag or a, food, gold, axe, bear. It's an amazing amount of little icons. A skull. Let's put a skull there, and we'll select skull. If I click it, that's better, and we can select it how big the icon's going to be, so small, medium or large. Let's put it as large, and it gives us the coordinates, the latitude, the longitude down the bottom, which is amazing. And we can drop that down, and straight away I can see my skull right there. And let's zoom in on him, and we've got a little skull dropped out in some farmer's paddock. So, and we simply click on that, and look, it's got our location, our details, gold location, and we can simply delete it and get rid of it. So no worries, we've got rid of him, we got rid of the skull. So that's a really cool feature. We can drop a waypoint wherever we want to go, or wherever we are at the time. The next one is create a breadcrumb trail. It's late. I've been out detecting today. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. So create a breadcrumb trail. Now that obviously follows you. You're walking around the map in a certain area, and it obviously follows you creating that trail. Once you get home that night, you can really look at where you've been. And once I activate this LiDAR mapping, you will see exactly what I mean. So if you've walked in an area all day and you come home and you activate the LiDAR, basically all of a sudden you're going to see that maybe you were in the wrong place, or maybe you weren't hitting in the right gully. So we can measure the distance once again. We'll just go down quickly. We can measure the distance, unclick that. We can toggle on or toggle off our basically waypoints, so we can hide all our waypoints that we set. We can reset our view, taking us back to our standard view when we first logged in. We can export our waypoints or import our waypoints. If you had any waypoints downloaded on another application already, you can simply import them over onto this application. The same vice versa goes. You can take any waypoints that you've saved on here and you can export them onto another application or another device or what have you that you need, that you're running at the time. So let's put take the historical gold nugget information out. So we're going to take the scrolls away. We are going to put on the gold occurrences, and we'll zoom in there because they disappear if you go too far out, obviously. We're going to look around Castlemaine here, for example, first. So Castlemaine, we can see we've got a lot of diggings running north-south. We can see in the orange we've got the shallow alluvial leads, so nice shallow gold. So good areas to go and hit on with the detector straight away. If you've got permission for private property, or if it's Crown land, of course, you can access it. No worries. And it's just a matter of knowing where to go. And this application, this information by Detector Maps is going to allow you to know exactly where to go. I'm just going to jump forward and let's do it. Let's show the LiDAR really quickly, because we're going to get more into it a bit later. But this area here, let's say for example, we can see we've got a shallow alluvial lead running up in the orange, and we can in fact drop the opacity on that, so we can drop down the orange so it's not hiding anything. But if we come over here to the left hand side and we click on LiDAR, we can now bring in the LiDAR information, and you can see how it's changing straight away, or changed straight away. And what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to take the shallow alluvial leads out and bring them back in again, and then just drop the opacity down. And as I said, you can sort of keep them in there, and you can do this with every different layer. So every different feature or layer on the side of the screen here, you can drop the opacity down and basically put them in and out. So I'm going to show you also, we're going to put our national parks in, so we know where Crown land is and Crown land isn't. Now I will say it does cover up the LiDAR imaging a little bit, so we're going to take that national parks back a little bit, and we're going to keep it in green, just off kilter a little bit. So we can see now, I'll zoom out, We've got our LiDAR imaging, we've got our shallow alluvial leads in orange, and we've dropped the opacity down so they're not covering up our LiDAR imaging. We want to be able to see everything. We've then got our national parks and our boundaries of Crown land featured in the green. Now it's pretty simple stuff, and to get to this point we really haven't done much. So now let's go back to the LiDAR here down the bottom. We'll scroll right down and we select LiDAR. Now it takes it away quickly, but what it does is you click it again, it brings it back up straight away, and it allows you then to drop that opacity up and down. So we're going to show you the ground as it sits there basically without the LiDAR, and then we're going to bring it in and show you how it changes, and you can really see the cuts in the ground. You can see the miners' holes, you can see the pits and the diggings where they were digging out and following the creek. You can see their tracks and their roads all the way through. And what I'll do just quickly is drop that opacity back down. This is obviously some reef workings right here. I mean, they've cut that whole hill out, and they've also found another reef off the side to the left here and cut that out. And it looks like a lot of sluicing and dredging and what have you, maybe some big open cuts right there, but they're not in a straight line per se. They are kind of, but not like this big one straight up here. It's more prominent, and it's obviously a reef cut mine where they found some really good gold. And if you go down, once you sort of go down, you'll notice that the mines drop off, and you'll find diggings. If you zoom in too far, it goes back to normal, which is handy. But you can also do that by dropping the opacity up and down. But generally when you get away from the bigger mining areas, you'll just see little diggings. Yeah, here's a great example. So the big mine cut areas here, and we come off and you can see they're just sort of chasing up and getting a little bit more gold here and there, and not actually doing any serious mining up and around this area. Same thing up on this hill. We've got some little diggings, some bigger diggings, and they lead to some big reef cuts. Once again, some open cut mines. Look, it's just, this is the most incredible information I've probably ever had my hands, had access to and had at my fingertips, literally at my fingertips, because this is a touch screen. Pretty cool, saves using a mouse. But look, fascinating information. What we're going to do, I'm going to zoom you out and I'm going to show you around another few areas. And if you zoom out too far, I'll just show you, we lose the LiDAR. So, if you're sort of like in too far and you don't know where you are, I mean, it's sort of hard to tell where you are sometimes. Simply zoom out and you'll get your bearings straight away. I mean, there's Bendigo, Castlemaine, we're in the Golden Triangle. We've got Maryborough. So let's take a look at Maryborough. Actually, let's take a look. We've got Denali. We're going to go outside of Denali to Wara, where we hold our event every year. And instead of using my fingertips like I always do, shocking I know, I was in primary school when I was about grade 5 or 6 when the teacher first said, "Kids, gather round. This is what they call a computer." And we're all like, wow. And, we never really did much computer work at all, ever. So I didn't really ever have much to do with computers, so you got to sort of bear with me sometimes, sorry. But here we are up at Wara, and I'm going to take the opacity away so we can really see what's going on. And we can see the Wara Historic Cemetery right there. Absolutely fantastic place, well worth a visit if you've never seen it. We can go down to the campgrounds, recreation site they call it. But that's basically where we hold our event every year in about November. I'm just going to take that shallow alluvial lead a bit away because it's a bit bright. So we'll just drop the opacity down a bit more because we can clearly see it. It just doesn't need to be that bright, and it helps us uncover and see the LiDAR a lot better. So bring that back in. And our Wara recreation site, our campground, let's have a little bit of a look around what was going on. Now, I've been told that it was a market garden there, Chinese market garden. They were feeding all the miners. Let's have a look how much mining activity actually took place in the area, because every year, 3 years in a row, this year will be the 4th, I've got to get into gear and start planning it. But every year we have had our event there, and one thing I've never got to do is go off and actually detect, look for gold or coins, relics, anything. So it's something I want to do. So having this information once again at your fingertips, it's just so valuable. And I can't recommend it highly enough. I said to my father-in-law, Andrew, about it, and, you know, as I said to him, it's not amazing, it's absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, nowhere else can you get this information, LiDAR mapping. And not only that, but you've got also your other mapping up here, which I didn't really continue on following and showing you. I mean, we can go into some really great depth and detail on this computer tonight, but we will try and keep it as simple as we can. But we've got the historic mine shafts, the soil content, and we can even look at parts per billion soil content. So there's been soil samples taken, and we might just drop that in quickly. But there's been soil samples and rocks samples and sieve samples taken over many, many years, and that is what all the blue and yellow and white and red and what have you dots are. And if we basically look at the table of what they mean, that's not the right table. Where are we? We want to go to soils. We can basically look at parts per billion of what they are. So this little red square here, we can click on nearly everything on the map there. You can click on the mines and what have you, get information off them. But we can see there it was a bulk unsieved sample, and AU parts per billion, so gold parts per billion, was 60. So it was a pretty good sample as opposed to other ones, you know, your blues and whites, what have you. There are a lot less parts per billion of the gold. So we'll drop all that information back out because we don't need to see it. So we'll soils, rock chips and streams back out. So all the soil samples we'll take away. We'll just show you quickly, if I can control this computer, water courses. So we drop our water courses in, and you don't really see them straight away until you sort of zoom in and out a bit, and you'll sort of pick them up and see them a bit better. So the national parks, we might drop that in quickly and bring that up because we can see Crown land from not Crown land. We can understand where we're allowed to detect. And below it there, we've got some mining boundaries and areas. We've got mineral tenements, explored mining licenses from 1860s through to the 1950s or 1958. So it basically shows you the old mining licenses and what have you, where they were and where they were pegged out, and also provides valuable information. We can also put some infrastructure in, the roads. You can see the roads coming in, bumping the camera. You can see the roads and the main highways coming in and out in the yellow there, which is very handy once again if you want to know where you sort of are on the map. We can also, which is incredible, overlay the old historic goldfield maps. Now I don't know, yeah, we do have one available. So straight away, we can use the opacity bar down the bottom left hand corner. Remember that opacity bar, it's your best friend. And basically we can overlay that information. So not only do we have LiDAR information at our fingertips where we can see absolutely everything, and we're going to give you a better look at that in a minute and really concentrate on the LiDAR and absolutely show you everything. But we've also got the historic goldfield maps information that we can overlay over the top. Now, I think with all this information, it's just, as I said, your books, you know, you'd research your books and find this out, but you wouldn't have the LiDAR to go with it. And to me, the books are great, but look, they're limited. They're limited information. You can read them and read them again and again and again. But this here will be updated in future, no doubt. It will be always progressing. And at the moment, right now, look, it's information at your fingertips that I feel that you really can't do without. So we're just going to take away historic goldfield maps. I've sort of showed you that, bringing it in and out. And as I said, your opacity is your best friend. And we can see the old goldfield maps from 1800s. We can even see where the old pubs were. And then, you know, if you utilise the information from the old goldfield maps where the pub was or the race course or what have you, if you're a coin relic treasure hunter, you could then take away the opacity of the historic goldfield map and be looking on LiDAR and potentially see the outline of the racecourse where the horses would run. And I joke you not, you can even see racetracks and it's not just for gold hunters. This is definitely information that I think as a metal detectorist, a lot of people will be jumping on board. So let's take away the historic goldfield maps. Let's add the LiDAR, because that's what we're really mainly here to talk about and focus on. The LiDAR is just amazing. So let's take away the cross and let's give you the whole map. And let's really have a look around. So we're going to follow our shallow leads. We're going to look at where they've been mining and where they haven't been mining. And we can really see that. So shallow lead there with the orange. We can see some infrastructure, maybe some dams. Quite clearly, these bigger ones here. I've got to stop using my finger. Quite clearly here, these will be dams. So we can have a look at that too by dropping the opacity down. And once again, well, you can see water in this one. We'll actually zoom in a bit there. It looks like a bit of a gold mining activity going on there to me. But yeah, look, we can see water in both those, and as I said, they are quite clearly dams. But he's got some diggings right beside, which is very, very interesting. And those other clumps that you're seeing, they wouldn't be diggings as such. They'd probably more be stones or mounds of dirt, I'd imagine. And we're going to show you that a bit more here. So let's find a new area. Let's go to Bendigo. And I will say some areas of LiDAR, it's still being progressed and updated. So it will become available as time goes on. I mean, it's covering potentially every area that you want it to cover already, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming in future. So I just don't really know Bendigo gold mining areas too much. Here we go. Here we go. So some shallow alluvial leads once again. We've got some pitted out miners holes. We've got a bigger hole over here. Let's stop using my finger. Putting my finger in the screen all the time. It's just a bit harder to zoom around with this. We've got some little miners holes heading up around here. Look, I'm going to find an area closer to home because I know it really well and I can really show you its potential. Rightio, well, here we are in a more familiar territory to me. And we're just going to head our way down this gully here. Now, I'm just going to start from the start and go to the top. And I'm, actual fact, going to zoom out that little bit. We can clearly see we've got a road running down the left-hand side here. We've got a dam, looks like a water point, up on the hill there with no diggings around it. I dare say it's a water point for CFA to get water just in case of a bushfire. But this area here, this gully here, there's really no diggings that we can see too much. So I'm going to zoom in and really show that. There's really not all that much around to see. And leading up that the spurs and the gullies there, there's nothing. So as we make our way down the gully though, we can start to see a couple of miners holes. And we've got one up here, we've got one there. Looks like we've got a couple of side by side, a little bit bigger. And we've got 3 running down here. We've got a little one, maybe little baby one right there, and we've got another one below it. So that's interesting. And we work our way down the gully. Now, what I said to Andrew too, if you're a newbie to detecting, let's say you parked your car up here near the dam, and you walked your way down into this gully, and you thought, oh, I'll just detect this gully. And let's face it, we all do it. I've done it. We all do it. Walk our way down the gully and we spot a few diggings and we're like, oh, beauty. The gold miners were here. And with the gold miners were here, they were obviously digging for gold. Now we all get excited and we see the gold miners' holes. And we spend an hour around those holes and we move on down the gully and we see a few more and they start getting thicker. And we go, oh, amazing. Even more holes. Like, this is incredible. And we're really in the thick of the gold now. And we keep moving down and we think we're really hitting on it. As I said, we all do this. We all get excited. I know they're just holes, but I get excited when I see them. But what we don't know is what's sitting below us. What we don't know is all these other areas around us. Let me go this way. What we don't know is what we're not seeing. And without a lot of research, without a lot of walking, and days spent in the bush. I mean, this just doesn't take a day to walk around here and find all these. This would take months and months and months of walking through the bush, going up and down hills and up and down gullies, and looking for the thick of it, looking for that area. We're in Enfield State Park, if anybody's wondering. Looking for the area that where you want to be, where the thick of the gold was. Because like the best advice you can give for gold, and I know it's so mundane, but if you want gold, go where the gold miners went. And there's a certain reason why some gullies were never continued on and dug out. Maybe that was the fact that they lost the run of gold. I'm not saying they got it all. I'm not saying they knew where to dig for everything, but there's a certain reason why these three tributaries running off down these spur lines here were not dug out. And there's a good reason why up on the hill here was peppered with Detectorist holes. And we can even actually see, I'm going to use my fingers here, we can see a couple of lines. Now there's no straight lines in nature, so we need to sort of really be looking at that, key factors, key things, and looking for where those key areas are for the gold, and really taking into account all the detail that LiDAR is providing us now. And I haven't mentioned, but to access this for 12-month period, every 12 months annually, it costs you $150. Now, in my opinion, tell me that all those books that you bought haven't cost you more and don't provide less. This mapping that we've got now at our fingertips for $150 for 12 months every year, it provides everything. And there's a mobile application, as I mentioned, and you can just get out there and use it. And to the point where I could zoom into an area, I could waypoint exactly where I wanted to go. I'm just going to take you down the river here. Look at all the diggings. I could waypoint and tell you, or tell myself exactly where I wanted to go, and I could simply go there. And I know that I could have absolute pinpoint accuracy. If I wanted to target in on this cluster of holes right here, and then work my way down this natural eroded, looks like creek line, I could get there tomorrow and know that I could walk up on this cluster of holes. I mean, Google Earth and other applications and things that I've used in the past, I'll drop a waypoint, I'll go out into the bush, and I might be 10, 20 meters short of what I'm actually looking for. And that's okay, but pinpoint accuracy is just key. And with this application, we now have that. We have that pinpoint accuracy to be able to say, I would like to go here, and you will 100%, unless you walk the wrong direction, I cannot see how you could go wrong. Look at all the diggings. And then we got one up here, lonely old hole up here. Once again, reason why gullies weren't dug out. That gully's not really dug out, it's just eroded. But you can see the miners have ran up the hill here. And we can also see that the Crown land has stopped. Now we've come out of Crown land, the green on the right hand side, the pale green, because we've dropped the opacity, that is basically National Park area. Whereas we can see it goes into the green, the darker green, to follow the creek line. Creek lines are generally Crown land, 30 foot, 10 meters from memory. I can't exactly remember. But we lose a bit of Crown land there on the hill, quite obviously, and then we come back into Crown land once again. So look, there's areas that I've already marked. There's areas that I'm going to go very soon, little pockets that may have been forgotten about in the bush. And as I said, unless you walked out into these areas and you spent days or months, and yet the fact is you'd have to sort of know that you're even chasing something to begin with. To walk out into these areas and look for these things, it would take you a long time. And if you're out there for the gold, you might come home for a month with nothing before you find the right area to be, before you start bringing home gold. So we all want it, we all achieve to get it. This Detector Maps LiDAR imaging, I feel it is absolutely going to revolutionise, I spun the map then, revolutionise everything we do as detectorists. Alright guys, well it's been a ride, it's been a long day, I will say. I was up at 5 AM out hunting, we got a gram of gold today. We were using the LiDAR as well today, so a great application to use every single time you're out prospecting, and I certainly used it today. And in part 2 of this video that we'll be sharing in future, I'm going to actually show you an area that we're going to go hunt. We're going to zoom in on an area, we're going to look at some diggings, and then we are going to go and detect them and hunt them and basically see what we can find and see if we can find some gold. Just funnily enough, I couldn't find any diggings then. They're all over, but not when I need them. But hopefully find a bit of gold. And look, a lot of it is small. You've seen my videos in the past. We're pulling out, look, generally around a gram a day, but you've got to dig about 30 odd pieces of gold sometimes to get it. And that's okay. It's still out there. It may be small, but look, every so often, you also might come across a big nugget like this. I hope you've enjoyed, guys, and I look forward to sharing part 2. We'll see you next time.